The last thing on the agenda is an update. Councilwoman Jackson attended the National League of Cities Conference in Dallas, I believe?
No, San Antonio.
San Antonio, it's Texas.
See?
And she's just going to give us an update as the representative at that conference, so feel free.
The National League of Cities is an advocacy organization in the United States that represents the country's 19,000 cities, towns, and villages along the 49 state municipal leagues, created in 1924. The organization provides education, research, support, and advocacy to city leaders across America and is based in Washington, D.C. And that's our rival when we first got there. The NLC provides training to municipal office officials, holds conferences, lobbies, and also provides assistance to cities on educational issues. The NLC is also a 501c4 nonprofit organization that advocates for stronger local government. It's also a government sector lobbying association in which MML is a member. The NLC lobbies Congress on multiple issues, such as infrastructure, transportation, supporting local energy efficiency, and conservation efforts. It helps strengthen and stabilize the housing market, supports community safety, and reforming the country's immigration system as well. The NLC motto is Cities Strong Together. Membership of 2,000 plus. CEO, Executive Director Clarence E. Anthony, former mayor of South Bay, Florida. Now, to get to the business portion of my trip, that was just some education on the founding operations and how business is conducted. My very first meeting was first time attendees meeting with breakfast, November the 20th, 2019, which was sponsored by the National League Service Line Warranty Program. And the questions were brought to, about the objectives were getting involved with others from other cities and how we could do that. We came here to become better public service, and yes, we did. Must trust examples of leadership. Community development block grants and affordable housing were some of the questions that were some of the concerns that were talked about at this breakfast. And helping low-income residents and allowing local governments to create projects that fit their city's needs enables them to leverage private sector capital to complete projects with a public purpose. And the potential leveraging sources were private sector, capital development, developers' contributions, nonprofit donation, state programs that vary from state to state, other federal programs, HUD as one, state tax credit, developers can receive historic, how low income and other tax credit. At this particular meeting is when I first was introduced to our CEO, Executive Director, Clarence Anthony. Now, this picture right here, that's when we were strategizing to get members from Maryland on these boards. And I'm going to tell you, we did a remarkable job with the ones that we had. We got some members on. My next meeting was the Real Council and Chief Equity Officers. And REAL stands for Race, Equity, and Leadership. This organization is affiliated with 1,200 cities. This organization was organized to prevent further conflict. The question was asked, what was racial equity? Racial equity was defined as both outcome and a process. As an outcome, we achieve racial equity when race no longer determines one's socio-economic outcome, when everyone has what they need to thrive no matter where they live. How do we define success? See that all city staff receive racial equity training, using all staff equity tool, using equity plans and goals. All city leaders discuss racial equity to their constituents. Strengthen our local leaders' knowledge and capacity to eliminate racial disparities, heal racial division, and build more equity communities. Community conversation is an important strategy for healing divides and building trust among different racial and ethnic groups, such as law enforcement and local elected officials. Now to my third class, which was the small cities. The motive for this class was to connect small cities to key NLL advocacy and policy development efforts, to be recognized as a voice and advocate for small cities, to serve as a resource for municipal offices from small cities, and also to ensure that council members are well informed about NLC and can be effective spokespersons about the roles of small cities in the NLC, and also to recruit more small cities to become NLC members. Civic and voters engagement as far as small cities in order to permanently strengthen the relationship between cities and their residents. Mayors can submit election days as holidays. You hear that, didn't you, Mayor?
I did.
Okay. Neighborhood association and high school students need to be involved. Civic engagements are involved with businesses, government, churches, and organization meetings. Community engagement means supporting events, programs, and activities solely in the community, public events. Voters engagement, to be involved in voter registration awareness, transportation, factual information, education, and participation, is assisting in filling out the applications, absentees, knocking door to door. And I came up with one that everybody seemed to like at the NLC was Beat the Streets, voter registration drives year round. Now, as you would know, Salisbury, Maryland, was considered a small city in the NLC, as opposed to the MML. NLC quota is 50,000 citizens, where the MML, Salisbury, is considered a large city with 32,338 citizens. Now to my fourth class, diversity in the census. And I would like for you to know, Julia, I gave the committee, the census committee, kudos. And everything that we have here, we discussed here, we are doing here in Salisbury. So I let them know that we were doing just that. Question: what is the significance of the census and what is at stake? Finances, money for municipalities. Community development, block grants. Texas undercounted and lost $300 million for 10 years by miscounting 1.5 million persons or citizens in San Antonio. Definite correct count is needed. Remapping of Illinois will lose if not counted correctly. Revenue funding will be lost for infrastructure. There will be a great impact to our communities, such as parks, playgrounds, transportation, and again, block grants. SNAP program, WIC program, and housing, Section 8. What is the most effective way to promote the census? Designate city, county dollars, a complete count committee, subcommittees, schools, veterans, LGBTQ, early child care, ethnic groups, nonprofit, faith-based education, informing citizens that census information data is secure, building trust. Difficulty in communication due to language barriers. Create ambassador programs for high school, giving community service hours. Illinois' governor allotted $30 million for immigration. School debate teams for high school students to prepare them for the census. Use the church, schools, and community events. Market the census to renters, persons with disabilities, and seniors. Any interested event or program that can help. Bus tours of the city. Census count day. Mock count day to students to tell their parents that they had been counted. Mental health events. Suicide events. Integrating into everyday life. Invite census to your event, in which we did. Public servant announcements. Senior day programs at senior developments. $1.8 million was given to help promote these efforts. Having both online and applications, teach citizens how to use technology. Have utility companies to send census information, water bill, light bill, cable bills. Get support from fraternities and sororities. Work with realtors and landlords. Have an event or events that contribute to the communities for the census. Hard to persuade immigrants. Identify organizations and persons who can help. The next one I went to was the National Black Caucus, local elected officials. And it was very interesting. Even though I'm not a member, I was there and I watched a lot of things. Artist Arthur Pride in tackling issues facing the Black and African American community. At this meeting is where they were getting ready to elect new elected officers, seats for the year 2020. They meet 3 times a year: City Summit, Congressional City Conference, and a meeting during the summer. This year's meeting they are focused on now. And these are some of the things that they're actually focused on. Making the local municipal procurement process equitable and representatives of the community. Helping local elected officials better understand the procurement process. Helping local leaders understand their roles in promoting minority-owned business opportunities in their city. Now, in this election for the National Black Caucus, we had 3 Marylanders that were elected to those offices, and they were Denise Mitchell, council member from College Park, Maryland, which she was elected as secretary. Sharika McCarthy, city council, Seat Pleasant, Maryland, historian, and Lori Ann Sells, council member, Gaithersburg, and she's Regional 3 director of Kentucky, Maryland, Delaware, Virginia, Washington, and West Virginia. The picture that you saw where Maryland was strategizing, this was when the state of Maryland was trying to get members on the NLC board and in an NBC-LEO. I could not vote because I was not a member either, but I attended and watched very carefully how the process works. And it was very educational, but lengthy. There was also the closing general session and delegates luncheon, which was awesome. Food was delicious. Again, we had the opportunity to network and meet other elected officials. We heard from keynote speakers, Common, Oscar and Grammy award-winning artist Arthur and king of conscious hip-hop. We met Peter Kangyama, author for The Love of Cities, The Love Affair Between People and Their Places. Karen Freeman, mayor of Gary, Indiana, and Joe Bosciano, council member of Los Angeles, which is now the 2020 National League president. Kathy Manis, council member, Lexington, South Carolina, and Max Zone, council member, Cleveland, Ohio. Service to city awards were received, and as much as the city of Salisbury is doing, we have a great opportunity to be on the receiving end of these awards. Attended the very last official function, the 2019 annual business meeting, where policy amendments and resolutions are voted by the NLC members, board of directors, and officers. Assure policy and procedures is followed, and the new officers and board of directors are nominated and elected. Again, only NLC members get to vote. Maryland's elected board of director member was again Lori Ann Sells, council member from Gaithersburg, Maryland. This is where the lobbying begins with Congress on multiple issues. Next events are the NLC Small Cities Council Conference, July the 15th through the 18th, 2020 in Lake Worth, Florida. The Congressional City Conference held in Washington, D.C. is March the 8th through the 11th, 2020. I definitely had the time of my life. I enjoyed the educational and informative forums and classes. I enjoyed and networked with numerous elected officials, too many to mention. The hotel was enormous and beautiful. The convention center was wrapped around the Grand Hyatt, so my classes were right in my reach. Did not have to walk far or use transportation. The awesome but beautiful Riverwalk, the scenery, the restaurants were just minutes away walking, like 2 blocks over. They had guided tours, but most of them were when I was in class or my workshops. But most importantly, I did get to see the Alamo and all the other beautiful attractions. Thank you, City of Salisbury, for allowing me to go to the NLC City Summit. It was indeed an honor to be among so many great leaders in their own special way, networking and getting plenty of new ideas. I hope and truly believe that we should become members of the National League of Cities because we are networking with other cities, towns, and villages that have great ideals, and the NLC makes it available for us to visually see, hear, and learn about what we all have to bring to the round table to make our cities and America great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, you can go. And those right there, that's Julian Castro. He was one of the presidential candidates that's in the middle of us. That was at the DMO Municipal Official Breakfast, and that was lovely too. The next one, that's Franklin Ortega. He was the former president for former President Clinton's White House tech and advisor and president, and he stayed around the whole entire time. I mean, he was very influential. He was very kind. He was just always somewhere where you could find him. Next, the Alamo. And I walked to the Alamo. I'm going to tell you, I walked until I found it because I missed the bus tour and I was upset. Click on it. That's me knocking at the door. I had already been shopping. You see the Macy's bag.
Yeah, I see the Macy's bag, yeah.
But there you, and I'm looking to see some big enormous building,
No, it's not.
and that's what I saw. Yeah, but it was beautiful. It was actually beautiful. Okay, the next ones are the Riverwalk, and that is, I mean, it was gorgeous. It was actually good. You can go into the next one.
I love the place.
And that's some more of it. And that right there, the Tower of Americas, is 750 feet, as you can see. It's an observation tower and restaurant. I didn't get to go there, but out my hotel room, I could see it. So, and I thought at night it was so beautiful. And during the daytime, it was kind of blah, but at night it was beautiful because it was lit up. This is the NBC-LEO meeting and elections. Fernando DeVille, he was some of the entertainment for the general closing session. Very good, very, very good. And this was the Service to Cities Award, and we had a real good seat. We were right in front of the stage. I mean, right in front of the stage. So we had a very good seat, and that luncheon was awesome, and the keynote speakers were awesome as well. And that's the Service to City Awards. And those were all the some of the board members and the keynote speaker. Now this is the executive CEO, executive director of NLC, and I'm gonna tell you something. It wasn't one place that I didn't go that I didn't see him. And I know Jake said he's met him, but he is the most pleasant person you would ever want to meet. He was always there for any questions you had. I mean, every time I turned around, I was like, does he go sit down somewhere, or is it me or what? But he was always around, always.
Like Scott Hancock at an MML conference.
Yes,
He's
yes. Go ahead. And this is Joe Bascano. He is now the president of the NLC. Let me go to the next one. That's Common. He did a rap, but he talked about a lot of things that were really real with the NLC. Talking about how the government works and how it should work, and we can all give some examples of how it should work. But he gave a very good presentation. He was a very good keynote speaker. And that's Merlin. That's not even half of us. You see Ryan Spiegel?
I see Ryan right there.
Yeah, you see Ryan. You see
Scott.
Yeah, Scott. But it was like that wasn't half of us. I don't even know where the other half was because I think we had the largest group there. I think we had like 40 people from the state of Maryland.
Carrie's there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that good?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it is. Mike
Yeah.
Bibbs. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Very nice.
Yes.
Thank you, Lee.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
So I
it.
hope we become a member because I think we can all learn something from it. I did. And these are some of the, I didn't get to make copies, but this is the business meeting, and these were some of the legislative things that they were.
Could you give it to Kim and maybe?
Yeah, you can make copies of it. And I'm gonna tell you something. At the NBC-LEO, they were just like they were on election for their city council seats. Every time I turn around, I had somebody's flyer. I'm like, oh wow, and they were really campaigning for their positions.
Wait till this summer's conference. There'll be some campaign material out there.
Well, MML?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right, anything else for the good of the order?
Want
No.
to announce it?
Thank you, everybody.
Wanna know it?
You want to announce? Come on, go ahead.
That's it.
Cause I already know.
I already declared to the board of directors, I am running for Maryland Municipal League president. Well, president-elect.
I think you got one city's vote here.
I sure hope so.
Yeah, you got some more, believe it, because I heard it from somebody from up the road.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone.
Oh,
It's been
and
a
here's some
long-
pens. I did bring some stuff back, but I can't find all
Luggage
the stuff.
tags.
It's some luggage tags, some ink pens. Anybody want any?
Don't show my wife.
What, the luggage tags? Why you gotta take it on a trip?
She loves going to conventions. All right, thank you, everyone. Meeting's adjourned.